But let's get into a Tottenham update. And we're going to start off talking about Wilfred Zaha, as HITC saying that Tottenham have been offered the opportunity to sign Galatasaray forward Wilfred Zaha. There has been other publications saying that he is close to joining Leicester. What's your take on Zaha? I know you love a bit of Wilfred Zaha.
I do love Zaha, and maybe 2 or 3 years ago I'd be all over this. I don't think now is the right he's the right course of action, albeit I do think his kind of winger we could definitely use. I like his dribbling ability. I think he's got really good ability to create chances on the byline, but I do definitely see him as being a lot more comfortable on the left wing than the right wing. Also, he's 31 now. He's definitely not in his prime. He's kind of getting a bit... Look, I still think actually he's a good player, and I actually think like if Palace were to sign, I know Palace will link with him, I know Leicester's linked with him, I still think he's actually got a lot to offer. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to a team like Palace or Leicester and does really well. But I think for Spurs, we need a young, fresh approach. We need a winger who's nearing, either approaching or nearing the top of his game, not someone in decline. And as much as I think the profile might fit, I just don't think it's the right fit for us right now for someone like Zaha, especially because I don't see him being that effective on the right wing right now. So I think it doesn't really make sense for Tottenham to go for Zaha.
Yeah,
I don't think these reports are reliable anyway.
I think the time has come and gone for Wilfred Zaha to potentially join Tottenham Hotspur. 31 years of age, didn't have such a great season out in Turkey either. Yeah, it's a no from me.
There's nothing to suggest we're actually after him.
Yeah, just this report.
Well, no, but that doesn't say we're after him. It says we've been offered him.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's nothing to suggest that we actually want him.
No, and I'd be surprised if we did want him. Like a 31-year-old winger who's just gone to Turkey and not really impressed. Like, just doesn't make sense. Let's talk about another player called Andre Almeida. Tottenham are keen on signing Valencia midfielder Andre Almeida, taking a key role at the heart of Valencia's midfield. Almeida made things tick in the middle of the park while taking responsibility for set pieces, and that is from HITC Sport. He's a 24-year-old Portuguese midfielder who's yet to make a cap for the Portugal first team, but did feature very heavily for the under-21s.
Yeah, I mean, from what I understand, he plays more of like an attacking midfielder role, so I don't really understand why we'd want him. We've got Madison, we've got Bergvall, we've got Decky, so I don't see any real space for him. HITC, I mean, they're not the most reliable again, so I doubt there's any truth to this.
You keep stinking on HITC.
Well, if they come up with a reliable report, then I won't.
Maybe this is the one.
I don't think so. It doesn't make sense. Why would we? Well, I'm guessing he's going to be decent money, like at least 40 million, 30 million.
I have no idea.
I don't know. Look, he's a 24-year-old attacking midfielder. I believe he wears the number 10 for Valencia, so he's clearly an important player for them. So. I don't know. We're stacked with number 10s right now. Why would we need him?
Yeah, his market value on Transmarket is 15 million euros. Does have a contract till 2028.
Makes no sense.
Yeah,
I guess we are going for, if we're seeing him as like a Gallagher/Ramsey alternative, maybe that makes sense. But from what I gather, he plays in the attacking midfield, so I don't know.
Well, there's actually been no reports of it, but it looks like Gallagher to Atletico is.
Yeah, I mean,
it's crumbling a little bit.
Watch this space.
Do you think Spurs go back in?
Maybe. I mean, if Chelsea are desperate to sell and Gallagher's already agreed to leave and that move's falling through, I wouldn't be surprised if Spurs smell some blood there.
Yeah. Next up, let's talk about Dane Scarlett, as Sunderland journalist says that Sunderland do have a significant interest in signing Dane Scarlett on loan. Do you think that would be a good move for him?
Well, he'd be on the documentary Sunderland Till I Die, so we get to see that, which would be great. I think it would be a good move. He'll get to link up with Jack Clarke again. I think he's still there, isn't he? He
scored first game season.
He's been linked with a number of moves, but he never actually got one to the Premier League. So Jack Clarke's doing really well. I'm sure they probably know each other a bit from his time at Tottenham. I think, and
probably from England youth levels as well.
Yeah. So obviously they look like they're doing all right at the moment, Sunderland. So I think if Scarlett can get some game time there. Is Josh Madger still playing up front for them? Didn't he score like that?
I'm not sure who plays up front, but you know who else is at Sunderland is Dennis Serkin and Romain Mundle.
So there you go. So he's got some friends there. So maybe it would be a good move. That'll be interesting. Obviously, he's been left out of the squad now, last game, Scarlett. That would suggest to me that, albeit I thought he did well in the cameo appearance, he scored against QPR, and he looked decent in some of the other games. So I thought he'd maybe get some more opportunities, but it looks like we've chosen Lancashire to stay, and maybe Scarlett's go on loan. So I hope this loan deal goes better than the other ones, and he finds the right club. Maybe Sunderland could be that.
Yeah, let's hope this one does happen, because another report, SI, says that Sunderland holds significant interest in Dane Scarlett on loan. The club previously registered interest in his teammate Will Lancashire, but their preference is Dane Scarlett due to his previous experience already in playing senior football.
Oh, there you go. That'll be interesting. So I think that could be a good move.
Yeah. Let's talk about Sergio Reguilon now, as Sport are claiming that Hansi Flick has given the green light for Sergio Reguilon to join Barcelona. And Gerard Romero, Barcelona journalist, says that Sergio Reguilon's entourage has confirmed that there were and there have been talks with Barcelona and the player.
I mean, quite a roster of clubs on his books.
Yeah, I know.
Madrid,
He could.
Barca, Atletico,
that's what I'm
Spurs,
saying.
United.
He could join that illustrious group of players that have played for Real Madrid and Barcelona.
Incredible. It would be a brilliant move for him. A really good opportunity as well to establish himself again and get himself to a top club. I don't know if it's the right move for Barca, but him battling out with Balde at left back as well. So he was a young player, so you might see himself, if Balde gets injured, or maybe even, with Reguilon being the senior left back, if he joins, he might back himself to displace Balde at that point. So it'd be a brilliant move and a really good opportunity for Reguilon. And I think Barca are getting a good left back. I don't think he's amazing, but I still think he's a good player, and I do think he can. In La Liga, he can definitely fill in for them for sure as a backup left back. I don't see a big problem with that. So I think it makes sense if they want to skimp out on a left back, they don't want to spend big money. I mean, Reguilon could be the choice. Do
you remember the days when we had Reguilon in his first season or first 2 seasons, and we were worried about that Real Madrid buyback clause? We're like, Real Madrid might trigger that buyback clause.
Yeah, it didn't quite work out that way, did it? And look at him now; we can't get rid of him. But look. He has definitely got opportunities the last few seasons at Man United, and now at Atletico as well, and now potentially Barcelona. So he's still doing well for himself.
Yeah, that's for sure. Giovani Lo Celso. Fabrizio Romano said on the day that we did play Bayern Munich, he said Giovani Lo Celso was not part of the Tottenham squad today, and he can leave the club in this transfer window. Real Betis and Aston Villa are interested and are still keen, with more clubs monitoring the situation as well. After being left out, I thought maybe a deal was imminent or around the corner for the player, but there still hasn't been any, hot links about Lo Celso leaving the club. Do you think it will be one of these two teams, or maybe someone else will come into the mix?
I'm not sure who it's going to be, but I wouldn't be surprised if this one drags on, because they know that if we want to sell him and he wants to leave, that the price is only going to drop the closer we get to the deadline. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he's left out the Premier League squad and this one goes right to the wire.
Yeah, we're talking about prices dropping. We kind of made that judgment call on Emerson, and that one didn't. It dragged on a little bit, but we're still here before the season, and Emerson has gone for significantly lower than maybe we would have wanted. So, if someone comes to the table and negotiates for Lo Celso, I'm sure that we'll probably end up giving them a good price.
We'll have to wait and see. I'm sure. Look, there should be a few clubs interested in him because he's a good player, and I think he did well last season when given the opportunity, when he was fit. Obviously, he's done really well at international level. I do think there's a really high quality player there. I do think obviously his biggest issue was staying on the pitch, but I think when clubs are looking at him, apart from maybe his injury record, I think they'll be looking at a really good player who can really make a difference to their team. So I do expect him to leave. I wouldn't be surprised even if it is a loan, which has happened before. But yeah, I do think he'll get that move for sure.
And last but not least, Spurs still want to sign Eberechi Eze before the transfer window shuts. It is unclear whether they have sufficient financial leverage to agree terms with Crystal Palace, though, after signing Dominic Solanke, and that is from the Daily Mirror.
No budget, do you?
But in terms of having sufficient financial leverage, we've got the money there, but we're just not going to pay the money up front like Palace want. That's the reality.
Yeah, apparently we've paid a significant amount up front for Solanke.
It was like 30 million.
So, which is, fairly significant. So I can understand the reluctance to pay even more up front, but the money is there if we want to spend it. I don't think, what do they want, 60 to 65 million for Eze? If we really wanted to spend that money, we could. It's about whether we can make it work for the balance sheet, and we know how Tottenham are very much tied to that. or if there's any flexibility from Palace. Also, when it comes to Eze at this point, now that we've got Solanke in, and we're looking at the shape up of our forward line, with now Son and Werner on the left, and obviously Bergvall coming to the fore. Those are his two strongest positions, left wing and centre mid, and we're pretty well covered there. So unless maybe we're going to see Werner move over to the right, and we'll see Eze kind of fill in on the left, and maybe in competition with Maddison as well. I mean, in terms of the profile, it doesn't make too much sense, albeit I would never not get excited if Eze joins, because I rate him so highly and I'd really want him. So, part of me thinks we can just make it work. We just sign him and, we just move things around and we can make it work. But another part of me is like, it's not exactly the player that we need right now. Yeah,
I kind of agree with that. As much as I rate him as a player, I would prefer us to go sign someone who we desperately need, someone like a Johan Bakayoko. I've spoken about Bakayoko so much on this channel, but I feel like he can fit exactly what we need to do. He'll slot in on the right-hand side, provide real serious competition for Brennan Johnson. He'll be the first choice right winger at the football club, and we'll have really healthy competition there on the right.
Exactly. I still wouldn't be against Eze. If that's the one we land on, but I feel like we would be trying to squeeze in a square peg in a round hole. But maybe we could do it. I think he is good enough to just make it work. So maybe it is one of those deals that, on the face of it, doesn't make too much sense, but we could just make it work. But I think Ange has built his kind of project on not doing those kind of things. So he's been like all the players he's had a specific purpose for. So it would seem a bit weird if he would go against that by doing this kind of deal. I think that would go against what he's been trying to do. Yeah. Like even like players like Brennan and who maybe aren't. You can argue Brennan's a good player, but he's not like the best player on the market. But he signed him for a very specific role to do a very specific function in the team. Even Solanke, he's a good striker. I don't think he's the best striker in the league, but he's a good striker. But he signed him for a very specific role. Same with Van der Ven. I think all our players he's done that. Yeah. So Eze would be a bit of a departure from that.
Yeah, I agree. Romano actually gave an update about just various Chelsea things before, and he said at the end of it, Noni Madueke is one to watch in case a good bid comes in with Newcastle interested. I mean, we did speak about this a little bit yesterday. Is he one that we should be interested in? Because he does tick a lot of boxes, but is he of the required ability that we need on that right-hand side?
He's still young, so I think he's got a lot of room to grow. Look, let's be honest, we're basing it off his form at PSV. A lot of people were saying we should re-sign him. A lot of people are very excited about him. Now he's gone to Chelsea. A lot of people have failed at Chelsea in the last few seasons, and I think he actually, if you look at the back end of last season, he actually had a pretty strong end, and he was actually making a real impact. I remember watching the game they played Aston Villa away, and I thought he was brilliant. He was giving their right back a real torrid time, and I think he ended up scoring. So I think he's got the potential to be it. I think it's whether you look at that incident where he tried to take that penalty off Palmer and there was that fight on the pitch. I think he's also reminds me a bit of just of players who sometimes their mentality, does he take it seriously enough? Is he a bit of a, I don't know what the right word is, but
Yves Bissouma?
Maybe. I don't know about Yves Bissouma. I don't know if he's doing laughing gas, but I've definitely seen things in the media where leaves a lot wanting for Madueke. So there's definitely, you've got to question his character maybe potentially, but I think in terms of quality of player, and maybe he'll see a return to Spurs as an opportunity. I think he's got the potential to be. I think he's a real high quality player, and he's still very young. A lot of room to improve. So I can understand the temptation, but he wouldn't be my first choice. But let's say come deadline day, we're struggling to get a target in, and then we're offered the opportunity to get Madueke, and it's like Madueke, or we could just go ahead with what we have. I probably would go for it.
He's my best player in pre-season.
Oh, Sammy in the back end says that Noni Madueke has been Chelsea's best player in pre-season, but it doesn't help that Chelsea have lost every game pretty much.
Yeah, but you follow that on from his good end to last season. Maybe he's really starting to find his feet.
What's the maximum you would pay for Madueke?
Maximum? If they're desperate to sell, you'd have how much they signed him for? Like 35, 40?
They signed him for 35 million euros.
So 30 million. I'll probably pay about that. maybe 40 at the very max. But I think that would be giving them a profit.
The reality is he helps the squad building a lot with the club train situation.
If he counts as club trained, then that's another massive plus. I think we should. I mean, if we were looking at Edwards, there's no reason why we shouldn't look at Madueke.
I mean, I'd rather bring in probably Madueke than Edwards.
Definitely.
Yeah. But anyway, that is your Tottenham update. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section.